Sabres looking to put a win streak together Wednesday night in Washington. Previewing it next here on the Locked On Sabres podcast.
Your Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, thanks for making Locked On Sabres your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. You can check us out on YouTube, and remember to subscribe to our new text line here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. You can join up at joinsubtext.com/LockedOn. We'll have the description or the link in the description to the podcast, whether you're listening anywhere, audio medium, or on YouTube. Be sure to check out the show on YouTube as well. Got rolling with the text line, and I'm already having fun with it, going back and forth with some fans. We've sent out, some updates on practice stuff, including Jack Quinn being back at practice for the Sabres on Wednesday, although, as he even said, weeks away still from practicing with the team, but that will happen soon, and then he is still tracking towards playing again in January. So that's some good news on Jack Quinn, as he'll get ramped up here for about a month, it appears, and then will play with the Sabres in January. Other stuff to get to practice-wise coming up, including the lines for Sabres and Capitals. What's going on with the Caps? They are on fire, and I am here to tell you why that's going to end soon. Hopefully tonight against the Buffalo Sabres. We'll look at the lineup. 11D, 7 defensemen again. Some of the betting odds. I got my same game parlay of the day. Still looking for our first hit, but we're due. We're definitely due. Again, though, check out the text line. Having a lot of fun with it. Going back and forth with some fans. Big old group chat of everybody together. And we'll be doing our first kind of game watch together. I'll be sharing my thoughts. You'll be sharing yours. We'll share some of them on the podcast as well. If you remember the text line back at WGR, we're just kind of trying to do a version of that. So we'll keep you updated on practice stuff when it happens, news items. If Patrick Kane signs with the Sabres, you'll find out, or you can find out through our text line as well. Again, join subtext.com/LockedOnSabres if you want to link up there. All right, so stuff to get to on tonight's game. Let's start with the line combinations for tonight's game. We have another 11 forward, 7 defenseman game on the way. I don't love it. Not going to lie. I do not love it because it is going to take ice time away from defensemen that I think are more deserving of playing night to night than guys that were signed to be here. And, I'm really talking about Erik Johnson and, to a slightly lesser extent, Connor Clifton. So to look at the lines, what we're looking at, line 1, Dylan Cousins with Jeff Skinner and Alex Tuch. Still waiting on Skinner to get rolling. Line 2, JJ Peterka with on the left wing with Casey Middlestad at center. And Zach Benson's last stand. Maybe. Hopefully not. This is the 9th game of Benson's time here with the Sabres. He said, not thinking about it. He's lying. All right, it's fine. Of course he's thinking about it. He is hoping to stay with the team, unless he's been told one way or the other already. But last chance to make a last impression if it's still in doubt whether or not he'll stay with the Sabres. To me, I shared this opinion on our last show. I think it would be insane to put Benson back in juniors. He has looked NHL ready every game that he's been healthy. There have been multiple games where he's been arguably the Sabres' best forward, including last game against Chicago. So I'm hopeful that a bad performance doesn't sway the Sabres towards sending him back. I hope they're not on the fence. I'm not on the fence. I think it would be, again, psychotic to send Benson back down to juniors. Line 3, Tyson Jost centering Jordan Greenway and Victor Olofsson. Peyton Krebs is going to be a healthy scratch in this game. Granato said it wasn't because of play. It's just a numbers crunch. So Zemgus Girgensons and Kyle Okposo will be your 4th line wingers, and we'll see what they do otherwise. If you're watching us on YouTube, or you saw the graphic on social media and you're wondering, why is Matthias Samuelsson on the fourth line? Well, he was skating not on a regular pair, so I just threw him in there because I don't want to remake the graphic. Not going to lie. You had to move things around, and you got the boxes all set up the way it is, so it would have just been too difficult. Sabres making things annoying on the graphics department here at Locked On. I mean, come on. 3 goalies, 7 defensemen. What are we doing? Can we just do 12, 6, and 2 like a normal team? I'm not only half kidding when I say that, by the way. So Ryan Johnson skated with Rasmus Dahlin, Owen Power with Henry Jokiharju, and Erik Johnson with Connor Clifton, and then Samuelsson will mix in, I'm sure, and still play, 19, 20 minutes? I don't know what the numbers are anymore because of the 7 defenseman thing. I'm just not loving what's happened here where Ryan Johnson, and Granato even said this before the game on Wednesday, that Ryan Johnson is forcing this situation. He has played great, and he's deserved to be in the NHL, so they don't want to demote him. They don't think he deserves to be demoted to go back to the AHL. Well, here's the Sabres' first test of, it's not so easy now to just play the kids. Because before, it was. They were a rebuilding team. They had cleared the decks of all the veterans, so you know what? Oh, Dylan Cousins showed up. We have plenty of room. Where do you want to play? You want to play in the second line? You want to play in the third line? You want to play center? What do you want to do? There was room to play him everywhere, playing in critical situations against Sidney Crosby. And then last year, JJ Peterka and Jack Quinn. It's time for them to come up. Well, we got plenty of room on the second line. We can throw you into the top 6, get them in there. They start developing. This year, Ryan Johnson shows up. Oh, this is cool. You're really good. All right, let's see where to put you. And you're scrolling through I don't have anywhere to put you. So it's like he shows up to a restaurant without a dinner reservation, and they put him over by the kitchen. Like, they're just trying to stuff him in there in this weird, awkward position where now they've got 7 defensemen. And I get what they did in the offseason. They signed Clifton and Johnson because they didn't know. It's a playoff or bust season. They didn't know whether Ryan Johnson would be NHL ready or not. But now's the real test of what you do when the kid shows up and he is ready. And it's time to go. And it's time to play him. And in Johnson's case, it's time to play him in the top 4. It's time to play him 18 to 22 minutes a night. What do? And in this situation, they don't really know what to do. They're just going 7D. And again, that's tough. I don't know what you're supposed to do. Erik Johnson, in theory, if this were a video game, I think Erik Johnson is the man to bench. And I say that knowing he scored a really nice goal in Sunday's game against Chicago, and that he's been giving them value on the penalty kill. But I'm valuing 5-on-5 play over all of that. And he gets hemmed up in his own end a lot. In fact, 5-on-5 minutes. This goes for Connor Clifton too, because to me, they're the 2 guys that you look at to bench one of. Johnson and Clifton together. It's funny. When they're on the ice with Okposo and Girgensons, who are defensive specialists in their own right at this point, they've played fine together at 5-on-5. It's everybody else that doesn't work with. In fact, Johnson and Clifton together at 5-on-5 this year, when they are out there without Girgensons and Okposo, the Sabres are trailing 5-0. They've given up 5 goals with those defensemen on the ice and not that forward combination. And they have not scored when they're out there without those 2. And that's because it's kind of weird. Girgensons and Okposo are those 2, but those guys are anchors. And Okposo and Girgensons, they are more suited to play in their own end. And all right, we're going to get trapped on our own end. We're good. We could battle that out. We're good at that. That's what Girgensons and Okposo are good at. But when Johnson and Clifton are out there with Olofsson and Jost, suddenly those guys are not good in their own end. And that's why they give up goals, and that's why they don't get going the other direction, because they can't get the puck back. So whether it's that pairing that's not working or whether one of them just has to be scratched, that's where you have to look. Tough conversation. You brought both in. You paid both. But you didn't know Ryan Johnson was going to be this. And now you have to adjust. The goalie situation is kind of similar. Luukkonen and Levi, both looking NHL ready right now. Well, we don't want to get rid of Comrie. Let's go with 3 for now. I don't know. Same thing. Comrie hasn't deserved to be sent down or anything. It's just, I'd like to see some clarity, some more aggressive decision making from the Sabres when a young player is showing that he's ready to go. And Yuri Kulik is going to start to do this as he continues to play well in Rochester as well. Devin Levi in goal against the Capitals on Wednesday night. They're just going 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2-3. Comrie, Luukkonen, Levi, Comrie, Luukkonen, Levi, probably again. Although I will say this, I think Luukkonen deserved to play this game. I think Luukkonen deserves to play Friday night's game against Pittsburgh. I don't know, will they take Comrie out of the rotation? Because Luukkonen, again, has played really well and has been the best of the three goaltenders, has been the healthiest of the three goaltenders. I think you go back to him on Friday, and I'm very curious to see what they'll do. Friday night is a more interesting goalie decision than Wednesday here was, because it was Levi's turn, and they're not taking Levi out of the rotation. It's all about his development this year, as you want him to develop into the number one still. When we come back, we will take a peek at what's going on in Washington. I'll tell you why I think they're a little bit fraudulent, maybe even a lot bit fraudulent. And Ovechkin. I love the Ovechkin Gretzky chase, and a little bit of an update on that. It's not the greatest start to the year if you're rooting for Ovi to chase down Gretzky, but he's still in good shape. That's coming up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. We are presented by Sleeper. New NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities, and you can win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper, our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey. With Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. You could look at what players would you take to win 100 times your money. You get to pick eight players over under stats, whether it's, a Alex Tuck or a Casey Middlestad or whoever, who will record more or less than their sleeper projections, goals, assists, saves, shots, plus, minus, plenty more in a given game. And to win 100 times your bet on Sleeper, correctly predict the outcome of the 8-player stats, and you'll win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention, nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL. You're going to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. This episode of Locked On Sabres also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. When we do my same game parlay, best bets of the night, sneaky good bets a little bit later on in the show, we'll be losing the odds from FanDuel. It's not just hockey. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's number one sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, no better time to get in on the action. App is super easy to use, wide range of betting options. If you want to look at Josh Allen, over 275.5 passing yards for this game, if that's a number that intrigues you. How about a Latavius Murray anytime touchdown? A couple of things to look at maybe for this weekend in Philadelphia. Spreads, player props, futures, over-unders, and plenty more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the National Football League. Jody Biasi back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Sabres in Washington Wednesday night. The first time they are not home on Thanksgiving Eve since 2009. Trying to change things up. Things haven't gone so well the last 15 years, so whatever. Try whatever you want. I love that night, though, because there have been plenty of years where you go to the game. It's the best night to go out of the year, and you go to the game. You get out at like 9:30, and then you go out with friends after. You're already downtown. You're already near Allen Street or near Elmwood, Chippewa, wherever you're trying to go. You're already out there. So what are the Sabres going to see in D.C. on Wednesday? They're going to see one of the hottest teams in the NHL. In fact, you could argue by the record, they are the hottest team in the National Hockey League. The Washington Capitals, who I have declared dead, written the obituary multiple times in the past year, they're back. For now, they're 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. That is the best record in the NHL in this last 10-game stretch. They are third in the Metropolitan Division, 9-4-1. That kind of shows, by the way, they were really struggling out of the gates because they've gone 8-1-1, and they're still only in third in their division. 3 points ahead of the Sabres is all. So Washington, 9-4-2, 20 points, a -1 goal differential. And before we get to Ovechkin stuff, because I'm really interested in his goal chase this year and next year, Why are Washington winning? Because Nicholas Backstrom stepped away. One thought on them was Backstrom, we've talked about him because he had the same hip injury that Patrick Kane had. And Backstrom had the surgery, came back, didn't do a lot last year, and then there was a thought of, well, now he gets a full offseason, and he could get a little bit healthier. And the Capitals, who really struggled to replace Backstrom in terms of the top 6 center group last year, they had Evgeny Kuznetsov, but they didn't have another guy to really go to. They tried Dylan Strome a lot. And you've known me for 7-8 years. I've never been a big Dylan Strome fan. I don't think he's a very good hockey player. Never has been. I hated him when he came into the league in 2015. I hated his play when he came into the league. He's their number 1 center now, by the way, because Kuznetsov is also dealing with his situation. Is he injured? He's day to day. So I guess he's not technically out for this game, but it sounds like he won't play. So if he doesn't, Dylan Strome is going to be their top line center. Backstrom had the Kane injury. You thought whole offseason he'll get a little bit healthier. Started the year, wasn't playing well, wasn't healthy. The hip wasn't working, and he stepped away. And maybe he never returns. He kind of put a statement out that sounds like, yeah, I might never play again because I don't know if this hip's ever going to be right. So Backstrom out. Kuznetsov out. Look at their center group. Dylan Strome, center 1. Connor McMichael, center 2. Hendrik Lapierre and Nick Dowd on the 3rd and 4th line. I must say, though, I must admit up front, I don't know a lot about Hendrix Lapierre, other than I could look at his stats for you and tell you that he has 3 points in 5 games, and he's 21 years old and has been a developing prospect in their system, first-round pick of a couple of years ago. So that's all I know. First-round pick. He's a first-round pick that has 3 points in 5 games. So maybe there's something there. They need young players to develop because they do not have a very deep pipeline. They need all of their prospects to hit. They can't go 2 for 3. They need all of them to hit. McMichael, by the way, 7 points in 15 games, also a younger player. And then Dylan Strome, 8 points in 15 games as well. Ovechkin leads the way in scoring, 12 points in 15 games. So if you look at it, he's only got 5 goals. Nobody's really stepping up in a big way. Strome, by the way, is 7 of his 8 points are goals, I should say. So he is scoring goals. He's just not sending anybody up. Why are they 8-1-1 in their last 10? Why have they won 4 in a row? Why are they in a playoff spot? And why are we having to reconsider whether the Capitals might actually be good again? It's just goaltending. That's all it is. Charlie Lindgren has been unbelievable for them. He actually played the Sabres last year and had a couple of nice games. 4-1, only 5 games, but he's been playing more as of late. Lindgren played on the 18th, the 14th, the 10th, and the 4th. So they've only had 5 games here, or 6 games in the month of November, and he's played 4 of them, has won all 4, and has only allowed 6 goals in those 4 games. In fact, goals saved above expected in the NHL this year. He's the 3rd best goaltender in all of hockey, Charlie Lindgren. He's got a .940 save percentage. Good news for the Sabres. Despite the fact that on paper coming into the year, Lindgren's the backup, Darcy Kemper is the starter. Good news for the Sabres. Darcy Kemper is starting on Wednesday night. That's a good outcome. That's a good outcome because Kemper has been much closer. In fact, not even league average. He's been below league average this year. An .892 save percentage. His record is 3-3-2. He has allowed 25 goals in 8 games, over 3 goals a game. He is 38th in the league in goal save above expected, so kind of in the middle, but below expected, below 0 on that number. So Kemper's been okay. He hasn't been horrible. He's not been good. Lindgren's been great. So the Sabres almost catch a break to me by not having to see the guy that on paper is the backup, but has been the better goaltender. That's why they're in the spot they are. It's Lindgren. Another thing that points to that being true. What are they at 5-on-5? The Sabres, by the way, I haven't updated you in this in a while, because I reference expected goals for a lot and 5-on-5 numbers. The Sabres rank in expected goals for this season at 5-on-5 might actually help you feel a little bit better about their play. They're 16th. They're 16th. That's a playoff team. That's a bottom playoff team, but that's a playoff team. It's a league average hockey team. So the fact that they're 16th and we all kind of feel like they're not playing that well, that might actually be a good thing, a good sign. Washington, in that number, ranks 27th. The only teams worse than them are Anaheim, Ottawa, St. Louis, San Jose, and Chicago. That's it. Washington stinks at 5-on-5. Stinks. So if they don't have the goalie that's getting them saves, I'm not very confident they're a very good hockey team. And that's going to lead me to some stuff when we get to our betting preview. But I got my keys to the game coming back and also the betting. But one more thing on the Capitals before we take our time out. Alex Ovechkin, where does he stand in the Gretzky chase? Because that has been a super interesting thing in the world of hockey. It, I think, will be, I haven't thought about this. I'm about to say it. So throw something at me if you think I'm wrong. I think it's going to be no, it's got to be. This has got to be number one. The most impressive record that ever gets broken in my lifetime. The goals record in the National Hockey League. Most goals ever. And playing in this era, I think it'll be the most impressive record ever broken in my lifetime. And that's why I'm so obsessed with it and so interested in it. So Ovechkin, where's he at? 5 goals in 15 games. No, that's not very good. That's not getting you to Gretzky anytime soon. He's 67 goals behind Gretzky at this point in time. So, okay, he's got 5 goals in 15 games. That is a 27-goal pace. 27-goal pace for the season. That would put him 45 back of Gretzky by the end of the season, which would likely require him to return for his age 40 season to break the record. So he's still in good shape to break the record, but he's got to see a little bit of an uptick in terms of goals. But even if he doesn't, 27 goals, he could score 27 goals again next year, and then he's just got to come back for the 40th season, and all he'll have to do is score 18, which is not that hard. So for him, I don't think it's that hard. Power play, just stand him over there. So I still feel very confident he's going to break the record. Not rooting for him to score in this game. Every other night, I'll be rooting for him to score. Unless they really become a playoff contender. But my prediction, and I've been on this so far, I thought Ottawa would bounce back. They have. I thought Detroit would fall down. They have. Boston's where I've been wrong. And Tampa, we're still in the mix here. I don't know what's happening with the Lightning. So I'm predicting that Washington's going to fall back. The 5-on-5 numbers say it. The roster says it. They are still a really old team. They're a thin team. And if their season right now is reliant on Charlie Lindgren to carry them, that's not getting you through the whole season. Might get you through a couple of months, but that's, to me, that at most is what they're going to get them through. All right, when we come back, my keys to the game and my same game parlay, my 3 favorite bets for Sabres and Capitals. Coming up on the Locked On Sabres podcast, we are presented by BetterHelp. BetterHelp, check them out. They, this time of year can be a lot. It's natural to feel some sadness or anxiety about it, but adding something new to your life can counteract some of these feelings. Therapy can be a bright spot amid all of the stress and change, something to look forward to make you feel grounded, especially, and to give you the tools to manage everything going on. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find your bright spot this season with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNHL today. You're going to get up to 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNHL. Final segment here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We want to remind everybody in the Locked On Sabres podcast that the Locked On Podcast Networks launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today, here for your 24/7 covering the top stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Keys to the game and my best bets for Sabres and Capitals on Wednesday night. Let's start with keys to the game. I got 3 keys to go through. Number 1, Benson for 60. Benson has been getting benched in the third period. I kind of get it. Don Granato doesn't fully trust young players when the games are close and it's down the stretch. That's a little bit new. I think that comes fair enough with expectations of the season. And I do think in other instances, it's definitely right to do. I'd like to see Benson utilized more in the third period. When games are close, up that ice time, because I think he's one of the most consistent Sabre forwards on the team, despite being 18 years old. And Benson's good in his own end, relatively speaking. I think he'll get better at that. Number 2, key to the game. Find a defenseman to bench. because there are 7 defensemen going into this game. I think however long you want to take it, 1 period, half the game, somewhere in the middle of the game, find a defenseman that's not playing well and stick him to the bench, because 7D, I just don't like it. Guys don't get into a rhythm. Some players deserve to play more. Power playing 17 minutes a night on some games. I know he's had a little bit of struggle lately, but I don't expect that to continue. Johnson only playing 15 minutes. I mean, like, I want these guys closer to 20. Samuelson, I know Dahlin still managed to play 29, but the others, you might not play as much because you feel like, oh, I got to get Clifton out there. I got to get Erik Johnson out there. I got to get Yoki Haru out there. And I'm not even saying that the guy getting benched has to be one of them. If Ryan Johnson doesn't play well, stick him to the bench. If Samuelson doesn't play well, stick him to the bench. I probably wouldn't do it with Dahlin. Power even a little bit. I wouldn't completely stick him to the bench, but maybe limit the ice time. I just think you find a defenseman and you bench him, because I think getting into the third period with just three pairings that you just go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or eventually 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1, 3. That's the way to operate your blue line, even when you've got 7. Number 3, and I guess this kind of works for the defenseman too, but for the forwards, hammer the top 6. The Sabres are really thin at forward, in my opinion, right now. I don't trust much in their bottom 6, or as I should say, their bottom 5. Their bottom 5 right now, Greenway has been pretty good this year. I don't trust Olofsson at all. Jost is Jost. He's nothing special. And Okposo and Girgensons are Okposo and Girgensons. So I would love to see them get somewhere into the late stages. If the game is close, go just keep hammering those top 2 lines over and over and over, because I think there is a clear gap between the Sabres' top 6 right now and their bottom 6. All right. And betting odds for this game. Sabres are a slight underdog at plus 105, but as I mentioned with the Capitals, I kind of like the Sabres to beat the Capitals in this game. I don't think Washington is as good as their record. So plus 105 on that. If you look at what they are on the money line for Washington, minus 126. So for you non-bettors, you'd have to bet 126 to win 100. And then the total, 6.5. That's where I'm going to start my same game parlay of the day. Over 6.5 goals. It's Darcy Kemper in goal, not Charlie Lindgren. I do think that matters to the over here. Levi's been okay, but has been shaky. So you could get both goalies allowing some softies here. And I do think the Sabres want to be intent on scoring more goals. They want to look more dangerous. Granato sounds like he wants them to be more dangerous. So we'll see on that front. But I like over 6.5 goals, and mostly because of who the goalies are. I got JJ Peterka to record 3 or more shots on goal. It's not a very high number, and Peterka has been shooting to score as of late, and he's getting time on the number 1 power play unit. So 3 shots on goal for JJ Peterka. And then my number 1 bet that I love for this game, a little bit of a feels bet, Zach Benson. Benson's last stand. Got to make an impression. Anytime goal scorer, Zach Benson. Gets you to plus 1638. So 10 to win 163, 100 to win 1,600. That's the odds I'm looking at for my same game parlay of the night. Benson to score, Peterka to get 3 or more shots on goal, and the over 6.5 goals. Enjoy Sabres and Capitals. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the game. Enjoy your holiday. And enjoy Friday night, too. We'll talk before then for Sabres and Penguins, which will be Friday at 6 o'clock. That's next after Washington. Thanks, everybody, for listening to the Locked On Sabres podcast, making us your first listen every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.